For those of you who don't know, and there's actually a lot of people who don't, the Persona Q games are one of the many spin-offs that Atlus decided to crank out for the Persona franchise. In these games, all the different cast members from Personas 3 through 5 traverse through space and time to interact with each other and go on all kinds of crazy misadventures where hilarity ensues. Since on Persona 6 is inevitable, it's only a matter of time before people start asking questions about good old Persona Q3. To be fair, there really aren't that many people even thinking about Persona Q3 now, seeing as only like 20 of you out there actually bought Persona Q2. But mark my ass, people are going to start bringing this topic up at some point down the line, so I'm calling dibs on it right now. However, just because Persona Q3 can happen doesn't necessarily mean that it should, so out of the kindness of my ass, I decided to take a look at both possibilities, after my Oscar-nominated intro, of course. Alright, so the first Persona Q game didn't exactly light the world on fire or anything like that, but I mean, it did still manage to outsell all the Etrian Odyssey games that its engine was based on, or stolen from if you want to be a dick about it, I guess. Anyway, slice it though, the game couldn't be considered anything but a success. This was before Persona's popularity really took off with word of mouth and internet hype and all of that, so after Persona 5 took the franchise to new heights, you'd think that Persona Q's sequel would have torn all kinds of ass around the backyard, especially with Joker right there on the front cover. However, apparently most gamers found the idea of buying a game that's exclusive to a console that isn't exactly the most recent thing in human history to be too humiliating. Yeah, pretty much everything that came out for the 3DS after the Switch was already a thing died a quick and somehow painful death. I mean, there were over 65 million of these consoles out there, but no, I can't play 2D Metroid, Pikmin, or Persona Q2. This handheld's old news, and I'm a hip young vagabond who needs graphics and chicks. I'm sure at least one of you said that, I don't know. Regardless of why, though, Persona Q2 didn't exactly cut the mustard as far as sales went, but I don't think that Atlus blames the concept for the underwhelming performance or anything like that. I mean, again, every game that came out for the 3DS after the Switch duked the bed, so it was obviously just bad timing, and even then, if you actually looked at a Persona Q or Etrian Odyssey game, I mean, these clearly didn't take all that much time or effort to actually make after the first game already laid the foundation out. I'm like, yeah, they do eat up a good amount of time, but there really isn't that much actual content in each game if you think about it. They're pretty much just like 4 or 5 dungeons with a basic grid-based map that drags the playtime out like hell by throwing a bunch of curveballs at you along the way. Don't get me wrong though, I'm not complaining about that. I actually like the Persona Q games a good bit. I'm just saying to somebody who's actually played them that these can't possibly take a ton of effort to crank out. Hell, after you spend dozens of hours to beat these games, it only takes like a couple hours to finish a New Game Plus. So even on more advanced consoles, I don't think it'd be that big of a risk for Atlus to try again after Persona 6 finally comes out. And obviously they could and almost certainly will do a test run with ports of the first 2 Q games, which I'm sure will both sell way better than they did on the 3DS. But you know what, just because Persona Q3 would be easy to make and sell well, does that really mean that Atlus should go ahead and make it? Of course it does, you dungle, what are you thinking? Atlus loves money, and Persona fans can never seem to get enough of all these crazy spin-offs, not to mention how thirsty I'd imagine the Etrian Odyssey fanbase must be, so it's pretty much a win-win for everybody involved. But still though, the idea of playing another Persona Q game with even more party members than there already were to begin with seems like a bit much if you ask me. And it was awesome seeing the cast of Personas 3 and 4 crossing the forbidden door and mingling with each other, but since they didn't remember meeting each other in the first game, we had to watch them meet each other all over again in the second one, and like, granted, it was done in a way that still felt fresh enough with the meetings focusing more on the fan of these reactions, but I'm skeptical that it won't feel weird to see everybody meeting each other for the first time all over again, some of which would be for the 3rd time. Besides, it's already hard enough to choose a party of 5 out of 28, and I'm sure Q3 would probably add Kasumi from 5 Royal, just like Q2 added the female protagonist from P3P. Wow, there were so many numbers and letters to that, it probably sounds stupid to anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about. But anyway though, seeing as how Q3 to most likely have like 874,000 party members to choose from though, there definitely have to be more than like 5 dungeons, but I think Atlus at least realizes this. I mean, there's a certain expectation for new games on modern consoles to have a little more meat on the bone than what the Q games had on the 3DS, meaning that a potential Q3 would likely have at least like 7 or 8 dungeons, which would make introducing new cast members a lot more of a cluster frig. The first Q game let you choose which Persona protagonist you wanted to play as, and then after the first floor of the first dungeon, the opposite party were just kind of plopped right next to you, but even then, there really weren't that many characters to where you'd want to puke your pants or anything like that. It was pushing it, sure, but it didn't cross the line, and they even added 2 characters who acted as one party member for some reason.
Kind of a package deal.
We sort of work as a team.
With Persona Q2 cramming an entirely new cast into the mix, though, Atlus decided to ease the characters in little by little over the course of the game. In that game, you're forced to play as Joker and the Phantom Thieves, but then once you're warped into the Q world, you slowly start encountering characters from all the other games little by little, and honestly, I think this is a way better approach. Especially with way more characters, too. But I mean, since you don't have all your party members till the game's already past the halfway point, though, I think Q3 would probably need more dungeons to avoid a character overload. Also, because a Persona RPG at modern consoles for full retail price probably needs a little more fluff than what you can get away with on the 3DS, even if it is just a spin-off. Saying Etrian Odyssey clones are probably really easy to make, though, this shouldn't be too much of an issue, especially since way more people would buy the third game than the first two. Obviously, Persona Q3 wouldn't even come out till a good bit after Persona 6, so it's probably gonna be a little while. Then again, Atlus could always toss the party members from the first two mainline Persona games in there. Just kidding, we all know Atlus hates those two games and wants fans of them to suffer mild discomfort and purgatory till the end of time. Kinda like I'm doing with my allergies right now. Anyway, that's all for today, but if you got a kick out of my incoherent rambling and disturbing imagery, though, then you should check out this video I made with Chris Hansen, even though he only did it because I paid him, where I talk about the Persona 3 female protagonist dating the 10-year-old Ken. But if you'll excuse me, though, I gotta go bust my snake out of animal prison. Later!